Story 1. The girl I was dating was making nachos and shredding cheese. She cut herself and blood got on the cheese and the shredder. As she went to get a bandage, I picked up the cheese, and as I was throwing it away, she freaked out, thinking I might have acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. Like what? She was seriously freaking out that I had just been exposed to acquired immunodeficiency syndrome and needed to get medical attention. After talking, it turned out she thought acquired immunodeficiency syndrome was everywhere, like any blood outside the body could just magically get it. Her misunderstanding was a relief that night. Story 2. We served in the United States Peace Corps together in Uganda. One day, it was really sunny out, like we lived within 50 miles of the equator sunny. She says, "The moon is going to be really bright tonight." I asked what she meant, and she said since it's so sunny, the moon is absorbing all the light and will illuminate brighter when it's dark. We argued about this and ended up talking to her mother on the phone. She confirmed her daughter's hypothesis. Story 3. This one is a bit obscure, but when you go to a hotel to check in, you tell them your full name or at least your last name so they can look you up. The guy I was dating at the time and I had booked a hotel somewhere, and when we got there, they asked for his name. He only gave them his first name, which is generic. "What's your full name?" He again gave them just his first name. "Sir, we need your full name to look you up." "Yeah, but the reservation is under my name, first name here." I had to intervene and tell him they needed his last name because there could be many guests with his first name. I was so shocked this was not common sense to him. Story 4. My ex thought wind turbines spun because they were powered by electricity. She has since gotten a degree and I do not have one, so I am not sure what that makes me. Story 5. My partner was grunting and groaning at the bin. He said, "We need new bin bags. These ones you've bought don't fit." I went over to see what was going on, and he had a roll of small black dog waste bags in his hand with one unfurled, trying to work out why it wouldn't fit in the bin. There were bin bags. He just picked up the wrong roll and instead of realizing, tried to get a dog waste bag in a bin 50 times bigger. Story 6. One day, my then fiancé was very angry with me without warning and started harassing me over, "What are you going to do? How are you going to pay for our wedding? How?" Basically accusing me of being broke or having no financial plan. After a whole day of me wondering what was going on, she finally went through the numbers. According to a wedding magazine she borrowed from her friends, the average cost of a 200-guest wedding in Tokyo was $80,000 or so, and I did not have that kind of money at all. I then had to literally sit her down and use pen and paper to prove how much our wedding was costing, since I insisted it wouldn't be as much. How much is the venue, ceremony, and rentals? $2,500. How much is the meal going to cost per guest at the hotel restaurant? $50 to $70. And how much are the hotel rooms we're paying for? $150 per night. And how many people are attending the wedding? 13. All said and done, our whole wedding was going to be about $4,500 to $5,000. And we knew this. But after reading one magazine article about mega weddings in Tokyo, my fiancée convinced herself that ours had to cost that much too. She spent nearly 2 days stewing and angry with me before even explaining that this was the reason for her hostility. She was easily influenced like this by anything, friends' comments, overhearing old ladies' conversations on the train, clickbait news online, and so on. And no, I did not go through with the wedding. It took me a long time to admit that her stupidity wasn't a charm point, but weaponized incompetence by an abuser. Story 7. My now ex-husband legitimately thought that having a hysterectomy meant that your vagina was removed. I learned this when he asked me how women who had a hysterectomy were able to pee. Further discussion led to the realization that he thought that a hysterectomy resulted in a nice smooth Barbie-like bump down there. Story 8. He thought potatoes never go bad because his mom always kept a bag in the pantry. I asked him if they ate a lot of potatoes and he said yes. They have a large family with 6 kids. And it still didn't click. Story 9. My wife went to the store to get cilantro for our tacos. She came home with parsley. Easy mistake, they look similar if you don't look closely enough. I told her she bought parsley. She was convinced it was cilantro. I had her taste it. I showed her the tag on the bundle that said parsley. She reluctantly went back to the store to get cilantro. She came home with another bundle of parsley. I love this woman, but in this moment I was questioning everything about her problem-solving skills. The good news is, she has never brought home parsley again. Story 10. My husband was feeling unwell and began searching his symptoms online. After a while of silence, he suddenly turns to me in a panic and says, "I think I have preeclampsia." Story 11. I dated a guy in college who visited me in my rural hometown and asked what the animals in the neighbor's field were. I said, "Cows," in a "you must be kidding me" level of disbelief. He proceeded to tell me they can't be cows because cows are black and white, and these animals were all brown. I had to pull up Google to prove to him that brown cows existed. I could maybe understand if he'd been from a city, but he told me he was from a rural suburb, not a city, so I guess he was just an idiot. Story 12. My boyfriend refused to eat basil I had bought from the grocery store because it was a full plant. I was keeping it outside, and he insisted that he would not eat dirty food. I asked where he thought farmers kept produce, and he said that they have special areas for food to grow that is sterilized, but my plant was not food grade. I just looked at him with a dumbfounded look. I didn't know how to respond. Story 13. Having a discussion with my wife about not using certain Christmas tree decorations because they were glass and we had small kids. Her. They are not glass. Me, they are, though. Her. No, they are not. See? Proceeds to drop one straight onto the hardwood floor. Smash. Me. Her. Me. With the straightest face I have ever managed in my life, I'll get the broom. And that is why we are still married. Story 14. While we were moving, my ex-wife asked me who we needed to contact to change our email address. Edit. Thanks for the responses and upvotes. Promise this isn't a bad attempt at a joke. This really happened when we moved to a new house in the same region of our state. We both had been using Hotmail at the time, which made this funnier, to me at least. Story 15. Ex-wife complained that Apple Pay would not work. I suggested she contact Apple support or go to the Apple store. She kept refusing to go to the store, saying she would call customer support and go from there. One day while at work, she texted me asking where to get iTunes gift cards, which was already a red flag. "Why do you need those?" I asked. She told me that Apple support was requesting the codes to verify funds. I told her it was a bad idea, a scam, and to just go to the Apple store. An argument broke out, and nothing was discussed further. I got home that night and noticed 8 $100 iTunes gift card holders in the kitchen. I asked her if she sent the codes to anyone, which led to another argument. She said she posted in an Apple support thread, and an anonymous user replied, telling her to call a number that was obviously unaffiliated with Apple. Some say her Apple Pay still does not connect to this day. Story 16. My husband thought people whistled when they set off fireworks. He didn't realize the fireworks themselves whistle, though that was one of his more harmless misunderstandings. Story 17. We were planning a trip, and I asked my partner to book the flights. Weeks later, I asked for the details, and they said, "Oh, I thought we could just buy tickets at the airport on the day we leave." Apparently, they thought airports were like bus stops. We ended up paying so much for last-minute tickets. I half expected a butler on the plane to greet us with caviar and a mortgage application. Lesson learned: trust, but always verify. Story 18. I bought fresh broccoli, and my husband asked why I got such a huge broccoli and not the normal smaller ones. He thought broccoli naturally comes in bite-sized florets. Story 19. On a camping trip, she was worried about parking the car on the grass because she thought the grass was going to grow, puncturing and flattening the tires. Story 20. There was this girl that kept sending the same document over and over. Eventually, the recipient called to beg her to stop. "But it keeps failing," she said. "The document keeps coming back out." Story 21. When he spent an hour arguing cows are from England and bulls are from Spain. Or when he told me he is British because he had mixed Egyptian and Irish heritage, and I was English because I don't. Oh no, wait. When the dentist handed him that vacuum thing to spit into, and he thought it was an oxygen mask and got it stuck to his face. Haha, memories. Story 22. The girl I dated in college broke my laptop because she kept trying to insert a USB drive. Instead of flipping it, she just pushed harder and harder until it damaged my port and motherboard. Story 23. A girl I was trying to date told me that Spain is part of Latin America, and when I informed her that it is in Europe, she doubled down by saying she was a Latin American studies student and that I was wrong. Story 24. My husband went to Dollar General for toilet paper. We had maybe $50 to last the week. This man came back with $40 of mango juice because it was on sale and no toilet paper. I drank the juice, but I was awfully salty about it. Story 25. He was making noodles and put in the seasoning packet but didn't mix it in. He then complained that the noodle brand was rubbish because the noodles only had flavor on one part. Story 26. My wife was commenting on a man who we knew dated a lot of women. One day we saw him with his child. She said, "I bet he doesn't even know who the mother is." Story 27. We were playing a video game and he said, "Let's go kill those ogres over there." I was like, "What? You mean ogres?" And he replied, "Yes, but it's pronounced ogres." Story 28. In the same conversation, a girl I was seeing asked if potatoes grew on trees like grapes, and do people in the Navy get paid, or do they just volunteer to die? Story 29. My wife bought a bunch of Riddex because she saw an advertisement on how expensive replacing a septic tank can be. We are on the village sewer line. We do not have a septic tank. Story 30. Found out she was eating half-cooked pre-made pot pies because she broiled every meal in the oven instead of baking it. She told me she hated that her oven burned the top of each one and left the bottom doughy. She would eat the uncooked dough regardless. Story 31. My husband was convinced that bees and wasps are the same thing, just at different times of the year. He thought bees grew up into wasps during the summer. I love him, but how? Story 32. Not me, my mom with my stepdad. My stepdad is highly allergic to shellfish. Like one bite could put him in the hospital. One night, my mom and stepdad are out at dinner, and my stepdad orders clam chowder. My mom was like, "Are you absolutely sure?" And it took him a good minute to realize why it would not, in fact, be the best idea to order clam chowder. Story 33. My college girlfriend took me to her megachurch. Though I was a bit uncomfortable, I was open-minded. I have no problem with someone being religious, but when the pastor said, "When Satan comes to get you, you put your hand up and tell him, 'Satan, you can't take me because I tithe and give offerings to the church.'" The crowd erupted in cheers, and I instantly lost respect for all 3,000 of them, including my girlfriend. Story 34. My high school boyfriend thought women got cramps from holding their menstrual flow, like you would get cramps from holding urine. And women just go to the bathroom and force it out like poop. Pads and tampons? They're just in case you can't hold it. Story 35. I was at the supermarket with this girl I had been seeing for a couple of weeks. We were in the produce section, and she said she wanted to make homemade lemonade, so I went and grabbed some lemons. She told me, "Not these ones, silly. I want to make pink lemonade. We can't use yellow lemons." Story 36. We were living together when I got a call from my dad saying he was on his way to pick me up because he needed to have a talk with me and my sister. Boyfriend, jokingly, goes, "Probably going to tell you he has cancer or something like that," and laughs. Turned out he was right. My dad told me and my sister that day that he had just been diagnosed with cancer. I arrived back, still in shock, to my boyfriend and told him that he was actually right. His reply, "Ha, I was right," and laughs. Dumped him 8 years ago and never regretted it. Abusive person. Dad is fine today, by the way. Story 37. A guy I dated briefly was not a United States citizen. His debit card got flagged for a large purchase, and when the bank called and asked for his passport number to verify his identity, he guessed. He had his passport in his pocket, and instead of looking at it, he just started rattling off wrong numbers. He obviously ended up getting his bank account frozen, and then he called the bank the next week and demanded that they deposit some money into his account to make up for the inconvenience they caused him. Story 38. All right, I love my girlfriend to the moon and back, but she thought if she got a tattoo, her baby would come out with that same tattoo in the same spot she got it. Story 39. My wife was late on 32 mortgage payments in the last few years, affecting our credit for a good 7 years or so. She's a finance manager. I don't get it. Story 40. When playing an office meeting icebreaker game, I don't remember which one, my fiancée was asked to name a fruit beginning with the letter D. In all seriousness, and with unbridled confidence and speed, her response was dingleberry. For further information, see Story 41. On our first road trip, I asked my girlfriend, now wife, to take over driving for a bit. She got in the driver's seat, paused and said, "Don't be alarmed, but can you remind me which one is the gas and which one is the brake?" I switched right back and drove there myself. Story 42. My wife recently realized she is colorblind through her eye doctor. She is an artist, and yes, her art is very beautiful, but the way she chose her colors has always been a bit strange. I now realize why. Anyway, when she found out, she was shocked. Afterward, as soon as we got home, she showed me her color palette that she used to paint, showing me the way she saw colors. I kept trying to explain to her that I don't see colors like she does, so I don't know what she sees through her eyes, but she couldn't understand what I was talking about. 2 days later, she randomly came up to me and said, "Yeah, that makes sense.